What up, what up, what up, what up? What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Welcome to Blunt Thoughts Live, episode 20, I believe. Episode 20. Feels like we've done a lot more than that. But it's only been 20, probably 20 too many for some of you guys, probably not enough for some of us. But welcome. Good to be here and excited to be here tonight. And if you're looking at the back of the screen and you're at the background, and you're like, what the hell is this background? If you're a family member, if you're a friend, you know exactly what this is. For those of you that aren't, and don't know, I'm gonna try to fill you in a little bit. To figure we have a little bit of fun, right? And when we talk about blunt thoughts, like I always say, it's not what everybody automatically thinks it is right away. Yeah, it's a little bit of a play on words, of course, but it's mainly because of the way I express myself, like I've said a bunch of times. Um, where I'm very direct with my opinions and all of that stuff. And that has started from when I was a kid on this little stoop right there in Washington Heights on my grandmother's block, where I spent a lot of time, where I was molded to be the idiot that I am today in 2025, right? So I figured to have a little fun. And if you look at the bottom right hand corner, you see there the firehouse. Um, Man, that's where we learned how to hit a curveball, ladies and gentlemen, playing wiffle ball. That was home plate. That was home plate when we played wiffle ball. So I just wanted to, like, I don't know, just honor where we've come from, where we still are, where, you know, we still rep, but we still spend some time. We still, you know, go see friends and stuff like that. But like I said, we're excited for tonight. Looking forward to having a fun show. We have a great guest tonight, someone that I should have been had on. So this is long overdue. Someone who's been kind to have me on his show, who's always showed me love, who does great work out here. And that's gonna be my guy Ant. And I wanted to have him on. I actually tried to have him on last week. I hit him up last minute. They're like, yo, Anthony, come on with me. Because I was say a little frustrated with this whole Pete Alonso situation and the way everything is going. And you know what? Anthony's a level-headed dude. Even when he's upset, you don't know, even if he doesn't like something or doesn't agree with something, you couldn't tell what it is, just only by his words, not by his attitude, his actions, or whatever. Like me, like I wear my emotions on my sleeve more than anybody should. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Ad was busy that day, so I figured let's have him on today to continue that conversation and to talk about a few other things. But before I keep rambling on and on and on, how about we welcome my guy Ant and onto the stage and say hello. Ant, what's going on, brother?
I had myself on mute there for a second. Hector, man, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man.
You okay? Are you okay
I'm
right
fine.
now?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Obviously, sometimes I may probably like look a little bit. I look upset when I'm not. Look down when I'm not. Sometimes I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but they're the wrong emotions or they're portrayed the wrong way. But I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Um, just riding the wave, man. Riding the roller coaster. So being a Mets fan
That's
is
all we
not just
do.
yeah, it's not a roller coaster just during the season, though, right? It has to also be a roller coaster during the off season. It can't be smooth sailing. But how are you, my brother?
I'm doing great. I can't complain at all. I know it's been very quiet outside of AJ Minter and Jesse Winker. And I wish that the Mets could do a little more multitasking, as I would say, during the off season. But every year, outside of when Steve Phillips was the general manager and Omar Minaya, every step of the way, it's just been one process at a time, and it just feels like it's taking such a long time. And before you know it, we are what 2-3 weeks away from spring training from pitchers and catchers. So it's coming upon us real quickly.
Yeah. I haven't gotten into the counting of the days. I see it every now and then. I'll pop up and stuff like that. But um, and it's funny, right? Because there's still time to do things,
Absolutely,
but
they have to.
at the same time, yeah, they have to, right? At the same time, like you said, you could almost see the finish line. Um, but you know, one thing that I've been thinking about, and it's funny, right? Because we feel desperate, and you see a lot of the commentary, and of course, you and I both on X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it. And my apologies. Let me go back again, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who Anthony is, did I say he hosts his own podcast, the Subway to Shea podcast? a great podcast. It has settled into Sunday mornings, which was a dynamite idea, Anthony. I think I told you this behind the scenes. It was something that I thought about, like during football season, maybe Sunday mornings. And I'm a little punk sometimes, right? So I was like, I don't know if I want to go there. People get into football. Who the hell is gonna listen? And you did it, and it's been a hit. I watch it unless I'm sleeping, because sometimes work through the overnight, I end up falling asleep. But I always go back and watch the replay. So if you don't watch, be sure to follow that, tune in, and all that good stuff. We'll have Anthony give you all his stuff. I'll add it on to the description and all that good stuff. But yeah, Subway to Shea podcast. Look that up, follow that, and all that good stuff. Where was I? So you see all the commentary. You maybe listen to the radio. The Mets are not doing anything besides Juan Soto. The Mets haven't done anything, and the reality is, when you look at it, the Mets have done plenty. I actually went back yesterday and I was looking at the transactions, right, just to see, and I don't know the number, but it's been a whole lot of them, right? And I'm like, wow, the Mets have made a lot of moves. Maybe not notable names, but they have made a lot of moves. And when it comes to, okay, yeah, like I said, you think about Juan Soto and that's about it. But no, we didn't bring back Sean Manaea. You could go back to early on. I still have Genesis Cabrera because I put him on there early on because we needed a lefty in the bullpen, right? So
yeah, and he'll probably get some play. He'll definitely get some play this season,
right? The Frankie Montas, the Clay Holmes, Griffin Cannon, AJ Minter recently, Jesse Winker, even Ilian Pena, who we'll get into a little bit, because I know you had Joe DeMay on your show, and I want to pick your brain a little bit on that this past Sunday. But we have made moves. I guess it's just not the headline making moves that some fans may want or expect because of the ownership that we have. And, we had all this money come off the books, and none of it was dead money, so we're going to reinvest it. I remember being in some spaces where guys were talking about, this X amount of money is coming off, and we're going to get back to this amount, this payroll, and this and that. And we're not really seeing that per se. So like, what's your thought on that? Like, how everybody's reacting to the lack of moves or headline making moves or whatever the case may be.
Well, me on social media, I don't tell anyone how to feel. Everyone has the right to their own opinion, whether you like the moves or you don't. You can interpret it as any way as you can, because that's what being a fan is all about. When it comes to me and these moves, look, yes, they're not the headlining moves that you would think that the Mets would go after because of, Steve Cohen, his presence, his money, and what, possibly should be done, especially coming off of being 2 games away from the World Series. But when you look at the strategy that has been taking place over the last 2 years, because this is really year 2. Forget the beginning of the Cohen era. Cohen never had David Stearns in place. He didn't have his guy in place. Now he has him, and maybe a little luck was put involved in them making the postseason, but they had a pretty good season considering what the offseason last year, was settling into. Now there's kind of different expectations, right? You want to see them at least get back to the NLCS at the very least. And I think David Stearns has not lied to anyone in his process, right? He doesn't go after starting pitchers that are 4 or 5 years unless they're in the 25, 26, 27-year-old range, in which they tried to do with Yamamoto last year. And then they bring in a hitter in Juan Soto, who's around 26 years old. That's when they're going to spend most of their money for, is these young players. When it comes to the older players, in their 30s or past their 30s, you're going to be looking for short-term deals. And I think he did a pretty good job of nailing down what he wanted for this team in the rotation. I don't know if it's going to be a great rotation. Lightning never strikes twice, right? I mean, we can't be guaranteed that, we're asking Kodai Senga to stay healthy, Sean Manaea to replicate what he did last year, David Peterson to be consistent, and then you have Clay Holmes turning into a starter. Griffin Canning is going to be your number 5 or number 6, along with Frankie Montas, and one of those guys is going to be a swing man with Paul Blackburn. So you're asking for a lot. And when you set up your rotation like that, there could be injuries, there could be, just overall disappointing play, and that's where all these, bodies that he's been signing, right? All these depth relievers and all that stuff. Because at some point, that all these players are going to come into play. Whether Daniel Nunez gets hurt, Jose Budo's tired, we're going to see all these guys at some point during the year. So that's where I guess Stearns really does his work. But we would like to see him play in the other pool. Why? Because of what we're watching with the, Los Angeles Yankees right now and what they're doing out there. I mean, they are signing absolutely everybody. But as I like to say is, it took them, what was it, 14 years to get to that point where they can, and hopefully the Mets do it in a whole lot quicker fashion because Cohen has more money and a lot more money than that group in LA. But because they've built for so long, they now can afford to do all this and trade prospects and make these deferments. And players have to want that as well. And they want to go to LA. I mean, the Tanner Scott Kirby Yates thing, once those two guys sign, I pretty much have come numb to every signing that the Dodgers make at this point. You look at just everything they have done this offseason, and they're setting themselves up for greatness, but a failure that will strike hard if they do not win the World Series, continuously. So I it's okay that the Dodgers are doing this. Like, it's not wrong for them doing this. They are spending their money and people want to go there. It's the other teams that are not spending money and getting involved in the whole action. I mean, like the Mets and Yankees haven't gone into any of these big bids at all. So I think the Dodgers, I'll say this to calm Met fans. I think the Dodgers have done us all a favor, and that is to temper our expectations, right? I mean, we needed to really have an off season to offset what the Dodgers have done. And it's at this point, it's pretty mute, right? in trying to do that. There's no way to kind of get back at what the Dodgers have done. Just have a great regular season and make the postseason. And once that happens, that's the business that we have to take care of. Put a team together that's going to get us back to October, and then we'll figure it out from there. That's probably the best advice I can give to kind of calm Met fans.
No, absolutely. Which should always be the goal. You know what I'm saying? That should always be the case. That should always be what you're looking for. Now, obviously, that's going to fluctuate from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
Some years you may want to reach just to make the playoffs and see what happens. Knowing that maybe we went around, maybe we're competitive in around, but we're making strides. We're moving forward to where we want to be. Other years you say, no, I got to add on. I got to do this because I want to win a division. Like whatever, it all depends on where you are. And I guess, yeah, right now we have to look at it like, man, this team is such a powerhouse where we just want to get there. At the same time, again, there's different levels. So I want to get there, giving myself a chance to at least be able to knock him down. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't want to back your way in. We
I
kind
don't
of
want.
backed our way in, right? Like, let's be honest. The Mets kind of backed their way in to the postseason this year. The Braves were not healthy. Arizona fell apart in the end, and all three teams had the same record at the end of the season. So, I mean, the Mets did their part, and that's all you can ask for them to do to get in. But other things are surrounding them had to do that. And we don't want to do that every year, right? You want to be at some point, you want to be a powerhouse like the team was in 2006, where they just steamrolled and made it to the postseason.
No, absolutely. Or you want to be like where the Dodgers are, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's going to take time. And excuse me, not that I didn't know this, because I myself having conversations on Twitter and stuff like that. I remember in spaces when guys would bring, well, Steve Cohen say he wants to be the Dodgers East. The first thing I say to that is, to hell with that crap. I don't want to be nobody anything. I say
You want
this
to be the
over.
Mets.
Yeah, I want to be the best version of the New York Mets. That's what I want to be. Now, do we take bits and pieces from every organization of what they're doing well? Absolutely. That's what a smart organization does, and of any kind. You'd want to take from what people are successful doing and then implement it to what you're doing. Um, but I also always said that's going to take time. We can't expect to be where they are They had their time where they took on some maybe bad contracts, whatever, to try to compete, to try to win because they were a new ownership. It didn't work for them. They got rid of those guys. They built their farm system, however the hell they built it. I don't even know. I haven't researched how they built it. Did they build it through trades? Did they build it through international free agency? Did they build it through their own draft here? Locally. I'm pretty sure it was a little bit of everything, right? You want to do it. You have to do everything well or everything good, and combine gets you to where you are. So I recognize all that, but I still can't get away from what we are coming from. And even though, like you said, because I said it myself, there was some luck involved. We did back our way into the postseason last year. But darn it, once we got there, we did pretty damn good. And I feel like you want to capitalize on that. There's no guarantee you get there. We see it all the time. Team makes it, maybe doesn't make it next year. Arizona made it to the World Series the year before, didn't make it even into the playoffs, right? So this stuff happens. But I also, even last season, felt like we had pieces good enough to be better than what people were saying. And it turned out that way. I would be sick to my stomach early on in the year when all everybody wanted to focus on was let's have guys build their value so that we're able to trade them at the deadline and get more assets. And I was like, not to hell with that. And if you're going to do that, then get rid of everybody. You don't spare no one. I don't need to keep any of these guys. Just go ahead and full out go young. But don't keep these guys that keep wasting their prime because you're trying to rebuild or whatever the case may be. Either we're in or we're out. I just a foot here, a foot there. That's what drives me crazy. And listen, everybody knows, guys. I have a little bit of an outline here. Anthony and I already touched on a little bit of everything I want to talk on. Anthony did some of it by himself, but besides that, I've been so rude and I haven't said hello. Hello to everybody. We will get to the chat in a little bit. I already see there's tons of comments. There's over 240 of you beautiful people up in here. I appreciate you. I know Anthony appreciates you. Um, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. And like I said, we'll get to the comments. Don't forget to get thumbs up. Don't forget to share this. Call your friends, call your enemies. Let everybody know that you got a very smart man here talking Mets baseball along with a dope. Anyways, uh, so and we're gonna leave the fun topic for last. You know what I'm saying? But just continuing on the whole whether you compete with the Dodgers, you don't compete with the Dodgers. And one thing that I wanted to share, and we've been all over the place, but I'm gonna share it now because you put out this post and
Yeah.
I loved it. You can see I liked it, I reposted it, and it's one thing that I don't understand. I don't understand is this. Oh my gosh, MLB has to do something. And you said, don't blame, I don't blame the Dodgers one bit for this. Can the rest of these MLB owners show up and spend on their team? My goodness. And you kind of like said that early on in your comments. And I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I can't get upset because the Dodgers are doing what we thought that Steve Cohen and the Mets were going to do, right? We thought we were going to be out here throwing money around and doing all kinds of craziness. Now, of course, again, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that get lost sometimes, as Anthony has said, and I agree, we can't expect to be exactly where the Dodgers are. And I'm not calling Steve Cohen a cheapskate or anything like that, because Steve Cohen did come in and spend money, bad money. You know what I'm saying? But he spent money, and maybe that's partially why where we are, because he doesn't want to do that anymore. But I don't blame the Dodgers one bit. I don't blame the Dodgers one bit. I just hope that eventually we get to the point that we're able to do that, or that we're figuring out other ways where fans are going nuts and oh my gosh, how can they do this? You know what I'm saying? Well, we figured out how to do something that any of you guys can do, but you either haven't figured out how to do it or you're not willing to do. Because this is there for everyone to do. You want to tell me that the Dodgers have a little bit more money, or maybe not a little bit more money? from what post that I saw earlier today, which I don't know the validity of it, but we could get into. So they do have a lot more money to play with, and they got lucky. They got super lucky with Otani coming to them with that, super team friendly deferral deal that probably no other player would ever do. But we can't say that he's the only one that's deferred money, because it seems like everyone the Dodgers sign has some kind of deferred payments. It's just incredible. But maybe eventually we get there. Some people say, "Oh, well, we don't need to do that. Steve Cohen could just pay anybody." I want to show you something, as we're all over the place here, like I said. But I want to show you something that I saw earlier that I was like, "Oh my, that's interesting." Wait a minute, where is it? I was like, "Wow, this is interesting." Let's see if I could find it here. My apologies. That's not that one. This one here. Here we go. Here we go. Check this out, man. Let me try to make this a little bit bigger also. Did you see this earlier?
I did. I think I reposted this one. Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane. Guggenheim Baseball Management has a net worth of $335 billion dollars. If you don't know who Guggenheim Baseball Management is, ladies and gentlemen, that is who owns the Dodgers. That is a combination of. I know Magic Johnson's involved. That's all I know. I know Magic Johnson is part of that partnership. But this is the kind of money that these guys have to play with. Shout out to anti New York Mets news. I don't know what the anti. Listen, I don't get involved in all this stuff. I don't. I just saw it. It caught my eye. So props to them. Him, them, her, whatever it is. Goes on to say Dodgers have a surplus operating income of $26 million. Mets have a net loss in operating income of $292 million. Dodgers revenue per fan is $89. Mets revenue per fan is $34. Dodgers gate receipts $211 million. Mets gate receipts $110 million. And then it goes on to a whole bunch of other nonsense that we're not going to get into. But that even lays out even more how not only the Mets, but no one can really compete with the Dodgers when it comes to money. So they can really get anyone. But that stood out to me for a couple of reasons. One is because what have we been hearing since Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets? No owner has more money than Steve Cohen. And maybe as an individual owner, I guess probably yes, that is true. Nobody's gonna be able to outbid Steve Cohen. I think these guys could outbid anybody if they wanted to.
Probably could.
You know what I'm saying? So, man, I don't know. Are we ever going to compete? When I hear people say, "Oh, rules need to be put in place to stop the Dodgers," if this was the Mets, I don't get into that stuff. Like, MLB didn't come out and said, "Yo, this is the Steve Cohen tax." The media and fans labeled it the Steve Cohen tax. I'm not going to say that they didn't do it because of Steve Cohen. That may have been the case. But it also doesn't say, "Hey," they don't come, "Oh, you can't do this. You can't sign this." No, we're going to implement, we're going to put this tax. Now it's up to you whether you want to go over it or not. If we choose not to go over it, and of course, there's a lot more penalties. I know the draft picks, moving down and draft, all of that good stuff. I understand all of that. But if you can do it if you want to.
And the Mets could.
Right?
Yeah, the Mets could do it if they wanted to. If they wanted to get to that point, they could definitely spend that amount. And here's the thing that we just talked about is this is 13 years worth of winning divisions. You win divisions for 13, 14 years in a row. You go to the playoffs 13, 14 years in a row with a couple of World Series. Yeah, your revenue is going to be sure as high. That's for sure. You look at the Mets, and just last April, Citi Field was empty. Empty. in 2023, when they did the trade-off of trading everybody off for prospects, Steve Cohen talked about losing money. So, I'm not saying you got to get out to the ballpark, even if they stink. But the Mets have to build winning teams to get fans to get into the stadium. That's what Stearns and Cohen are trying to do. We'll see if they could do it on a consistent basis now, because now is year number 2. If they get back to the postseason, that's another positive, to check off. And you continue to build out from there. And that's why you see a 26-year-old Juan Soto being signed. And they tried for Yamamoto, another young guy, to have him on the team for a while. You see the hesitation with guys like Pete Alonso, who are, going to be 30 and over, and are, you see first basemen like Chris Davis and Ryan Howard and how their careers, Prince Fielder, for example, because they used his contract as a comp. You see how their careers end. And Cohen Cohen is smart with his money. That's why he's got all of it. Stearns is a smart baseball executive. So they're going to try to figure out ways right now, because they don't have a strong farm system. They may be 13th, 10th, wherever, but they don't have enough right now at this moment in time. They had to rebuild. First off, they had to get rid of all the crap and garbage from the Wilpon era. You know how much garbage came from that they had to release? And now, he tried winning in the quick way, right? With the signings of Scherzer and Verlander and all that stuff. It didn't work. So now they have to try a different kind of position, which is probably the original position they wanted to do, was hire Stearns, hire a president of baseball operations to handle things, a young, smart executive. And that's the role that they're going in right now. If it works, I don't know. I can't guarantee you that this strategy is going to absolutely work. I have faith that it will work because of what we saw in year number 1. And because of what he's done in Milwaukee. Like, I understand it's a small market team. They weren't spending a lot, but they found ways to win, right? Every year they made it to the postseason. And I looked at, there was some list, I don't know where it was from, of their rotation every single year that he was the president or the general manager. And every year, outside of Corbin Burns and maybe Brandon Woodruff, that rotation changed players every season. So expect that until the Brandon Sproats and the who else is it? Blake Tidwells, Jonah Tongs, until those guys come up, because you really don't want to spend on starting pitching, honestly. Maybe if it's the last piece, like let's say the
Right.
Mets were one piece away
Right.
with a starting pitcher, then I'd say, oh, you know what? Maybe go after Corbin Burns. Give him that. He's the last thing we need. But when you need 5, 6 pitchers, at some point you got to start building from within your organization, because these starting pitchers are, to me, overpriced and overpaid. They pitch 5 innings a game, some less, right? They're not like Dwight Gooden right now, or Tom Seaver, or any of those pitchers back in the day would be billionaires. Like, they would be reaching Ohtani status with the way they
Yeah.
play. These guys, they're pitching 5 innings and they're getting way more than Gooden and Seaver got.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right? This is crazy. So, I don't want to be the person that continues to say, be patient and all that stuff. But, there is a strategy involved. There's an implementation involved. And that's basically the best that they can do right now.
I think for me, and I think probably a lot of fans, like, I think sometimes people feel like I don't understand, or I don't trust. No, and I trust and I understand, and I have no choice but to give David Stearns the benefit of the doubt, because, like you said, this is his track record. When you look on his resume, this is what he's done, right? But it's also been out of necessity, and he became very good at that because he had to do that. And I've had, you hear people say, yeah, but he's never won, which is true. And you hear people say, yeah, he won those divisions in a week NL Central, which is kind of true. You know what I'm saying? But they still won. They still won. But again, it was out of necessity. And although it is true that they have a plan and they're trying to implement that plan, and for the most part, they're pretty clear in what they're trying to do. They're trying to accomplish is be on an organization that has sustained success, right? Which I think every fan signs up for. You want sustained success. I want to be able to, win a division, and if I don't win a division, make it as a wild card or whatever the hell it is now. But to be able to be in the playoffs every year, and then eventually maybe get to where the Dodgers are, where you win the division every year, or every other year, whatever the hell. The Dodgers, I don't know how many divisions they won in a row. I know the Padres won it a couple of times, whatever. But also, I just, to me, it's still a little bit of confusion though as to what the plan is right now. Like, yeah, you go and get Juan Soto because he's 26 years old. So when are you really trying to compete for win the World Series? When he's 30? Is that what we're trying to do? Then come and tell me that. And honestly, why the hell are we wasting time in signing Juan Soto if you're trying to compete when he's 30? And then when you think about it, wait a minute, that doesn't make much sense because he can opt out in 5 years. So although you signed this guy for 15, there is an immediate window where you may lose him or you may have to make a decision whether you want to continue this relationship or not if he decides to opt out. I forget how the kicker is in his contract, um, how it gets extended, or he gets to opt out, not opt out, whatever. But you understand what I'm saying? There's still an immediate, and I still have Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, who are already, 30 and 31, I forget. Edwin Diaz, who is it after this coming season, may be able to opt out, So what are we really doing? Are we really just trying to make the playoffs to do what you're saying, to try to be that team that makes the playoffs a couple of years in a row, be able to make that consistent gate to then really invest? But wait a minute, Steve Cohen said he didn't care. He came to do this for the fan. He didn't come here to make money. It was going to be okay to lose money. But then he kind of changed tunes a little bit and said, yeah, it's not sustainable, which I said that from the beginning, which is why I get frustrated sometimes now when people want to tell me, oh, well, be patient, Hector. You can't go out there and just throw money at everybody. Well, I was saying that. I was saying that when he bought the team and everybody was telling me, no, there's nobody that's going to outbid this man. Like I said earlier, nobody's going to outbid Seacon. There's not going to be no player that we set our sights on that we can't get. But now we're starting to see that there are other variables involved, whatever they may be. Whether it is because you're from Japan and you prefer to play out west, whatever. But they're all picking one team though. So then I'll just there's shit. What is it? 3, 4 in California alone. They
Yeah.
could choose other teams that'll get you closer to Japan. Even Seattle, I think, is even might be closer. I don't know. I don't know about that travel stuff, but they want to stay out there because it gets them closer to home, right? It doesn't have to all be the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have built something through time that players want to be a part of, and it's not just Japanese players. My fellow Dominican Teoscar Hernandez practically begged them people to bring him back. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just them because of that. Um, but since we're talking, and this is turned into like a just the Dodgers show, like you said behind the scenes. Um, I wanted to share something else that I found interesting because I've heard this mentioned a couple of times. Because I do wonder when it comes to David Stearns, and I've said this a couple of times. First, I was like, is David Stearns trying to win a title in 2025? Trying to compete, trying to be competitive is one thing, but to actually be a title contender is another, right? Um, it kind of now has turned into, does David Stearns believe that he can win a title in 2025? Or does he look at the Dodgers and says, there's nothing I can do to this current team right now? at this present time to win a world to carry that I feel is gonna make me win a World Series in 2025 or help me win a World Series in 2025. And it'll take this. And I'm not willing to do this because it's not gonna give me that chance. And maybe that's why the approach to the offseason has been what it is. But then again, the Dodgers have made a lot of these moves now recently. Is it how you hear some people say how I suggested, and some people jump down my throat? Are we trying to get under the luxury tax? Is that even possible? I don't understand how that works. Um, I don't know if you have to be under the lowest, because the only way that you reset the tax, the only way that you reset the complete tax is by going underneath the lowest, whatever the barrier is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you have to be there for an entire season. I don't know if you have to be there at a certain date. I don't know if you have to be there for just a little minute. I don't know how that works. Is that the goal? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know what the goal is, but to what I wanted to share, because I think this goes to a little bit of what you've been saying, and we have to recognize this. But I think this is just funny to me. But again, to because I'm all over the place on this. So before I show this, I want to make sure, because I also wonder, and if David Stearns knows how to get out of his comfort zone yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's in a comfort zone. It's This is going to be a bad analogy, but I've been trying to think of a good one, and I'm not good at this. This is the best one that I can think of. Right? As we're growing up, we have rules by our parents, curfew, whatever it is. I'm old enough where you got to go to a payphone and say, "Hey, mom, dad, or whatever, I'm gonna be here. Can I go here after school or whatever?" Or you had to let it be known beforehand. Every step you made, right? But then you get to 18 years old, or you get to a certain point where your parents say, "Hey, listen, Anthony, you don't have to call us every time you want to go visit your friends after school. It's okay. Just make sure you're home by this time now. It's not 8 p.m. anymore, it's 10 p.m. But you're still calling them. You're still calling them because you don't have that comfort zone yet. That's what you're used to. So every time, every little move, and then your parents are like, "Yo, listen, Aunt, didn't we tell you already? Stop calling us for every little thing. Go
Yeah.
ahead, do your thing a little bit. We trust you." So David Stearns, out of necessity, always had to find the diamonds in the rough, make a lot of a smaller budget. Now that he has his big budget, is he comfortable enough right now to give Pete Alonso a 4-year deal that he doesn't have to, because Pete has no market and Pete should go to the KBO. Pete should go fucking come play with my softball team, because that's how bad he is. But you know what? I'm not in Milwaukee anymore. Pete is a fan favorite. Pete can help me. Is Pete the perfect guy? No. But is going to collapse everything for me if I sign Pete to a 4-year deal with this ownership now? No, I can do this and go ahead and make. And I shouldn't have used Pete. I shouldn't have used Pete, because I could just imagine the comments going crazy right now. But you understand what I'm saying? To get out of that comfort zone and go ahead and make that deal that you wouldn't want to make. Like, listen, and I agree with the philosophy of not giving pitchers long-term deals. You and I have spoken about this. I don't like long-term deals. I love Juan Soto. I've wanted Juan Soto since 2019. I don't care that he's 26. I tolerate, because I've said that before. At 26, I think about giving you a 10-year longer deal. I hate that 15-year deal, though. I hate it. I do. I'm sorry. But when is David Stearns going to find that comfort zone? Maybe he already has it. Maybe he already has it, and is just not ready to use it. But I wanted this is what I wanted to share. This is what I wanted to share. Okay, I have it up. Look at this. Look at this. Because Andrew Friedman said this. Now, I don't know exactly when he said this, but this Andy McCullough posted this on X, on Twitter, December 6, 2016. If you're always rational about every free agent, you will finish third on every free agent. Right? So I was in the space yesterday and I was talking. There was a great Dodgers fan in there. Ace, I forget his name. Ace something. Shout out to you, Ace. Great conversation. And I asked him, because I had seen this before. We get into the Dodgers, and he's like, hey, you guys got to give David Stern some time. The Dodgers didn't get to where they are overnight and all of this good stuff. And I'll bring this back because I want to show something else to it. And I was like, dude, you're right. So, but I asked him, what was the temperature of the team, of the fan base, December 2016? And he was like, oh, we hated this dude. We wanted him out. He wasn't willing to make moves. And he had been there 2 years already. I think he was hired in 2014. So he already had 2 full seasons, 2014 and 15, right? And they wanted him done. We've only had David Stearns 1 year. We've only had David Stearns 1 year. So to that, let me show you this. Because I laughed when I saw this post, right? Because the first comment you see that, right? The first comment you see, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah, we're not the only ones that do that. It's just not in Queens that.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just Bobby. It's not just Bobby Wallace, Joe and Clark. Shout out to my guys. Some people probably just left because I mentioned those guys. Oh well. And shout out to Jorge Araujo, the worst GM in baseball. Dodgers fans are tired of him. Time to go. Again, ladies and gentlemen, look at the date on this. December 6th, 2016. Some people probably rolling their eyes like, oh my gosh, when the hell did Hector become a company man? We are now, 9 years later? The Dodgers have won a Mickey Mouse World Series and now a real World Series. They've won,
and they lost the World Series too.
Yeah, exactly. They lost how many?
They lost 2 actually.
They lost to the Rays,
to the Red Sox, and they lost to the Red Sox, and they lost to Houston.
Okay. It wasn't. Yeah, the Rays. I forget who the Rays beat. Right. They've been to 2 World Series that they lost. They've won. I don't know how many.
Far.
How many divisions
they've been to the postseason
won.
And won the division almost every year, right? And they've been to 4 World Series, won 2, lost 2. Here's what I'll say. I'll start off with Friedman because I'm glad you brought that up, and then I'll get into whatever Stearns' strategy is. That was posted, like you said, 2016. He took over in 2014, right? Before that, he was the general manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, who probably have a less payroll than the Milwaukee Brewers do, right?
Yes.
So we are seeing the comparison. He was the executive there for 10 years, took the team to a World Series that they eventually lost. But he was there for those 10 years, did so well that the high-paying Dodgers said, let's bring him in and let's help him build around this team. And look at where the Dodgers are now. This is not going to happen overnight, everybody. It's going to take time. We hope that it happens a little bit faster than what we've saw from, what we're seeing from the Dodgers. But, excuse me, that's the template, right? And Andrew Friedman is in the same position, or David Stearns right now is in the same position that Andrew Friedman was in 2014, 2015, 2016. So it's going to take time. I don't think that David Stearns is hesitant to spend the money. He knows, like all of us do, right? I mean, he's the baseball executive. He knows, like all of us, that Steve Cohen can buy whatever player he wants if he wants to, for whatever amount, right? That's why we got the 15 years. Soto got whatever he wanted. Absolutely everything that Soto wanted, he got it. Because otherwise he was going to the Yankees. But Cohen wanted him. So he did whatever he had to do. He stepped in and he made whatever move. I'm pretty sure that David Stearns goes, you know what? You can step in on those type of deals for the big players that you want. But look at my track record. Look at what I did for you last season. And let me build without having us go over too expensive of amount on players. That Justin Verlander deal that they spent what was it, $43 million? Was it a year, right? They signed him 3 years, 43 mil a year.
Yeah.
They spent less on Luis Severino and Sean Manaea, and those two did a whole lot more than what Justin Verlander did for the Mets. Those
Yeah.
are the examples that I'm pretty sure that David Stearns brings to Cohen, and Cohen is going to buy into it because he's seen it work before. Now, I'm not going to say it works every time. And don't get me wrong. I am a little nervous doing this again with the rotations, with the Griffin Cannings and the Frankie Montases of the world. But if he gets this to work again, then, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to trust a little bit into what he's doing. You're just going to have to give him the opportunity. And then when Cohen wants the player that he wants, like let's say they don't re-sign Pete and he wants to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He'll do whatever the financial might is to get him, outside of him going to the Dodgers and the Dodgers saying, come here to win a chip, you know? So like, we'll see how this eventually comes out. And when it comes to Pete Alonso, you know, let me ask you this, Hector, because you've been a Mets fan for a long time. And it sucks that it has to be Pete that this happens to, but when have the Mets have had any leverage in contract negotiations? They have been screwed royally on so many contracts, spending so much money on players like Jason Bay. The list goes on and on of how many times they've got screwed out of contract. You could talk about Verlander and Scherzer overpaying for all these pitchers and hitters that never worked out for the team. And now they have the opportunity. And now I said, it sucks that it has to be Pete because he's the homegrown guy. He could possibly break a lot of records for the Mets. But at this moment in time, there are no contract offers out for Pete Alonso, right? The Mets had already offered him a big deal the year before to stay as the first baseman for 7 years, 158. He turned it down. He went to Scott Boras. Now, the Mets made him this other offer, which people keep saying is a lowball offer, but it's really not, because Christian Walker, who technically is a better first baseman than Pete Alonso, made 3 years, $60 million. And they are offering him more with the same amount of years, more AV, to be their first baseman. I don't think the Mets are wrong at all in this Pete Alonso situation. I also don't blame Pete for going after the money, but it's a gamble, and it was a gamble he was willing to make. I do blame Scott Boras for overvaluing him and putting that into his ear, but the fact that he wanted to try to get more money is okay. It's not a problem. It just did not work out for him. And now the Mets may get Pete, if they do re-sign him, on their terms. If you look at all the signings the Mets have made this offseason, and forget Soto, because that's a whole different animal, but all the signings the Mets have made this year came at the values that they wanted, and that's including arbitration. If you looked at the arbitration numbers, their players were overvalued, and they got them for the deals that they wanted to. So you have to give some type of kudos to what Steve Cohen and David Stearns have been doing here. Obviously, we wish that there was more of a how did you say earlier, that we knew more, I guess, of the strategy of what they were trying to do. But they would never fully give that away, and that hurts negotiations, with other teams and trading and all that stuff. So you never want to let everyone know what you're doing.
No, for sure. I guess it's something I wanted to open with this little fun that I had, because I posted it earlier today. And it's something that I've been thinking about for a few days, and I've been saying it to some people. And it's like, man, only the Mets can sign a Juan Soto and give you the exuberance that gives you, and follow that up with a month plus of uneasiness, where you just don't feel comfortable, and you just, what are we doing? And it's not clear. And it's like, and then to compound that, only the Mets can go out there and sign what a fan favorite, called Jesse Winker, a fan favorite, right? Someone that overall I think Mets wanted to bring back in the right role at the right price, right? Nobody wants to give Jesse Winker a 5 year deal, nothing like that. No, we'll bring Jesse Winker back on a 1 or 2 year deal with decent money and make you feel disgusted about it. Because while they're doing that, and the way it's being portrayed, that he's going to help offset the power of the other fan favorite, that in my opinion, you're basically pushing out the door. Because I hear you, Ant, and a couple of things you said. Then the one thing is, I think, listen, Steve Cohen, we know Steve Cohen wanted to hire David Stearns for a while. Um, he wants to build a good organization, which I appreciate from top to bottom, farm system, front office, everything, scouts, all of that good stuff. I appreciate all that. Um, so he went and got what he felt was the best guy to do it. You've highlighted that we both mentioned the bad contracts that were given out. Um, so you went and got someone that knew how to work with little bit of money. But again, we also always heard, imagine David Stearns with a larger payroll. Well, now he has it. Are you going to use it? You talk about winning deals or getting deals done at their price at what they want. Who's going to be upset about that? Not me. That's great. That's great. But do you have to win every single deal? You got to win every single. You can't give in a little bit on one guy. And I know you're supposed to take emotions out of it and all of that good stuff. And people don't want to hear about the homegrown guy and all of that. And again, listen, I've admitted a long time ago, I misread the Pete Alonso market, what it was going to be back in 2023. When we were talking back then about the Mets should sign Pete Alonso to an extension. What kind of extension would you sign him to? What kind of contract you think he's going to get? I thought Pete Alonso was going to get $30 million a year. And people kept telling me, no, Hector, not for a first baseman. The first base market is not the same anymore. And at first, I would fight back. And after a while, I'm like, oh, shit, man, these people are right. Carlos Ramos was number one on that. He kept telling me that. A couple of others. And they were right. I've conceded that. They were right. Like you. I still don't knock Pete for not taking the Billy Epler offer, because I think people forget that. The Billy Epler offer, right? I don't knock Pete for that. That you know, like any player does it. Now, you want to tell me that maybe Pete Alonso should have done a better job of he himself reading his market at the time? We could definitely look back now and say that was the case. In retrospect, he definitely should have done that. I don't even, and I can't stand Scott Boras. I don't even blame him for hiring Scott Boras. When he sees what's going on, he says, man, let me go get the best man for the job. Maybe what he should have realized, though, that was going to backfire on him. Because that might have not been the best man for the job for Pete Alonso. Best man for the job for Juan Soto, who's no question everybody's going to want. But for Pete Alonso, where there's some, maybe that wasn't the best thing. But I don't knock him for that. Now, where I kind of like go off the road with people is how it's been handled by David Stearns. And I can only go by what we know. And what I've known is I haven't heard any offer from David Stearns be extended to Pete Alonso during the 2024 season, before the 24th season, even after the 2024 season, now in this offseason. What was the offer? Okay, there was no offer from no other team or anything like that. You want to wait a little bit to what the market was. I get it. But the first time we heard of any kind of hint of an offer was when we heard the Mets are willing to do a high AAV short-term deal with Pete along the lines of 3 years, $90 million with a 30 AAV. Opt out after the first 2 years. Damn. That's what you think of me? If I'm Pete Alonso, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's the best you got for me. And then Pete comes back. Again, he has no market. How he has no market, I think there's different ways of getting there. I wonder how much Pete was willing to listen to other teams, you know, or how much they were telling people, like, no, listen, Pete just wants to be a Met. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know. But then we heard Pete come back and say, oh, the rumor, whatever, that Pete and Scott Boras came back and said they were willing to do a short-term deal with opt-outs, high AAV, but there was never any numbers attached to that. We want to assume that if the Mets said 30 AAV, 3 for 90, maybe they came back and said, I don't know, 115, 120 for 3. Outrageous. Outrageous. But then your comeback is, okay, I got you. That's what you want? How's 3 for 68? Like, wait a minute. Like, I don't know. To me, that's, and then now, coming to find out everything that's going on, the Mets have reached out to try to get Vladdy. Da 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 da. They don't. Oh, so wait a minute. So basically, you're asking me to be a placeholder. You're asking me to be a stopgap, basically, is all you want me as. You don't give a damn about anything I've done for this organization, the love that I've professed for this organization. And I know some people don't think that Pete doesn't want to be a Met, but Pete has done the Mets no favors. That's fine. That's fine. That's everybody's free to their opinion, right? But I'm trying to look at it a little bit from Pete's side. And then you want to add in the fact that, as some people have said, he looks at Brandon Nimmo's contract. Shit, Jeff McNeil got paid. Different times. It's all about timing, too.
And but different position.
Different position. Yes. But this all plays into the psyche, I guess. You know what I'm saying? People just want to feel loved. So I feel like Anthony, and maybe I'm wrong for this. And shout out to my other boy, Anthony, from the Schmoozers. I play baseball with him on Sundays. Had a great conversation with him on Saturday because we got into a little bit of a back and forth. Exactly. You know, because when I say, I don't know why people will say, well, oh, I agree with David Stearns. I don't want to commit to Pete Alonso. And I hate this nonsense. I can't stand this nonsense. You wouldn't rather have Vladdy over Pete? Or if you thought that holding on to Pete was going to stop you from getting Vladdy? Like, obviously, Vladdy right now is younger. We could debate whether he's better or not. I can debate it because I was going to ask you. There's a couple of things to this, I think. But we could debate whether Vladdy's the better investment, honestly, with where we are right now. Do you really want to go out there and make another 12 to 14-year deal? Whether he's 26 or not, for another dude that's trending towards a DH in 5 years or so? Is that a move? And then on top of that, is that a move that David Stearns really is that in his MO? Because I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Everybody thinks he's a no-brainer, but I'm not so sure that is the move that he would want to make. But obviously, they looked into it, so he must be somewhat willing to make it. But my thing is this. And I've also said a long time ago, like 4 weeks ago, that it was time for Pete Alonso to take control of the situation. If you really want to be a Met, Pete could have came in there and said, listen, guys, I recognize you. First thing he should have done is tell Scott Boras, say, Scott, listen, we tried. I didn't hold up my end of the bargain. I didn't have the greatest walk year. It is what it is. You tried. I want to be a Met. Go give me the best deal you could get me from the New York Mets. Forget about everybody else. Forget about shopping me. Forget about bidding wars and shopping the deal. Give me the best deal from the New York Mets. It is on Pete Alonso to do that. But I also feel that it could have been from David Stearns' side where he said, okay, we're here now. We want to keep this guy. The fans love this guy. I think we can win with this dude. He can't be the main piece, but now that we've added Juan Soto, he can be part of a winning. He could be a piece of this winning team. Pete Alonso, this is what I got for you, brother. Whatever it is, I'm gonna say here's my best 4 year deal. Now, of course, David Stearns and Steve Cohen have talked behind the scenes, and they've already said, "Listen, we're willing to go as high as 5, but we prefer not to. We're gonna stand firm on 4 years as much as we can. Where we're gonna have some wiggle room is going to be with the money." And you go in there, you tell Pete, "Listen, Pete, recognize the situation. We don't want to embarrass you. We know you don't want to be embarrassed. You love us. We love you. But the market has spoken. We told you to go shop yourself. You've done that. You have not come back with anything to make us move from where we are. In fact, we have every reason to go down and offer you whatever the hell that 68 crap comes out to, $20 million a year deal, whatever the hell it is. Here's my best 4 year deal. You have 24 hours, you have 5 hours, you have 48 hours, whatever the hell it is that they decide. You're not allowed to shop this deal. If I get a hint that you went out there and shopped this deal, the deal is off the table. What do you want to do? Either you take this and we move on, or you don't take this and we move on. And now in that 24 hours, whatever the window is, maybe, like I said, you've left yourself with, whatever you're going to negotiate, money or years, and you do that. If I found out that happened and Pete still didn't come to a deal, then I put all the blame on Pete. But for me right now, everybody's to blame. Everybody's to blame. Both sides. Pete should have read the situation better. I thought David Stern should have showed Pete maybe a little bit more love. But I'm just going based of what we know. And of what I know, I don't like kind of the way that David Stern handled it. Now, excuse me, again, if your objective is just to have Pete Alonso as a stopgap, as a placeholder, because your main goal is Vlad Jr., and you feel confident you're going to go do that, then hey, you've handled it exactly the way that you want to handle it. Now I'm not happy with with what the plan Bs are and all of this nonsense. Like I said before, the offsetting the power with Jesse Winker frustrates me. You know what I mean? The whole we're gonna move Mark Vientos to first base drives me insane because I want Mark Vientos to get a shot to play another year at third base. I think he earned that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not gonna go nuts about that. But I don't know. What do you think that's even plausible, or you still feel like no, Hector? They shouldn't have done that. It's okay that they didn't do that. They should never do that. Because I even think even at this point right now, like I would not be upset if it came out that the New York Mets and Pete Alonso agreed to a 4 year deal, and maybe there's an opt out after 2 years with that. I don't know.
Yeah, the deals that I was thinking of was 3 for 80, 85, 4 for 100, or 5 for 125. That was the most I'm willing to go on each of those years.
But this
money-wise.
Was this like going into the off season? Is this now?
See, I thought he was going to get a lot more money heading into the off season. I thought he kind of rebuilt a little bit of his value in the postseason with a pretty good postseason, but obviously having a bad season last year, because you'll take 30 home runs, 90 RBIs, but as Met fans, we know it was the way that how he hit those home runs and scored all those RBIs. He didn't do well with runners in scoring position. He's at a position that at his age, and we've seen decline in the last 2 years, that, you don't give out these big contracts to. So, at a certain point, I was saying 5 years tops was for me. He was definitely not going to get the 158 7 for 158 that he was, offered last season. And then you look at Scott Boras pretty much doesn't care about any of that stuff. His goal is to get whatever player that he's representing at whatever position that they play at, is to make them the highest paid player in that position, right? So whoever it is, I think it's Freddie Freeman right now, maybe is the highest paid first baseman. I think it's 27 mil, maybe. I think that Stan from Westport put it in here at 27 mil. And I'm pretty sure he wanted to get him to 30. I think it was who said it? Will Salmon said it in his article when he kind of predicted what the contract would be, like the 3 years, 31.1 mil. The reasoning behind that was Miguel Cabrera was over 30 something million, and he wanted to get that closer to over to that. But Pete's not that player. And it's hard to leave the emotions out of it when he's a homegrown guy and he's your guy. But I think this situation calls for this because of no one else is giving him a deal. Why would the Mets just overpay just to bring him in here? Like they could end this right now, right? Like they can give him the contracts that you said. Give him the deal. If he says no, you move on. And like, wasn't there like supposed to? I don't know. Someone posted there was supposed to be some type of deadline at some point that these two guys would be working with each other to try to get a contract. I don't know how true that is.
Who the hell knows exactly?
Everyone's posting something about it, but I honestly think this has been played from, if you're in Stearns and Cohen's shoes, I think that they have played this as perfectly as possible. Now it sucks that it has to be Pete because we love Pete, and I still think he's going to be on the Mets. I think they figure out a way to get this done. I would be shocked if he does not, sign with the Mets.
Yeah, I just don't like. Is he gonna have to like crawl his way over here? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, you can't deny that they're playing it well. Like I said, like who's gonna be mad at an organization that makes deals that favor them? Listen, I love Pete Alonso as a player, whatever. I root for him. Pete Alonso drives me crazy a lot of the times too. Like everybody knows, if you follow me and you watch my stuff, you know I've been critical of Pete Alonso a lot. But I just like, does that mean that this guy has to like pretty much beg his way back? And like, how low does he have to go? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this something that you have to do with this guy? Like,
let's be honest, Pete does not come out the winner. Even if he signs with the Mets, he does not come out the winner from this situation, because he had already turned down the big deal a couple years ago. He's not coming out a winner out of this.
At all. No,
he's going to get the lower end of the stick when it comes to his contract.
Mostly by his doing, too.
But mostly by his doing. Stearns and Cohen will come out just fine out of this thing. It's really Pete that, it is getting hurt here. The only way that this kind of hurts Cohen and Stearns is if they, overpay him and then he produces like he did the last 2 seasons.
Right, but does that really hurt them? Because this is what I've been saying. Like, we should be able to withstand that, though. That shouldn't cripple you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to still make other moves. Now, you want to tell me you want to keep first base open because of the Vladdy thing? Then I get it, and I also think that has a lot to do with why fans feel the way they do. It's because there's a guy like Vladdy out there. If there wasn't a guy like Vladdy out there, then I think it would be overwhelmingly, the fans pushing for Pete to sign. I like I said, listen, I'm not gonna get crazy because for some reason, M Easy, whom I love, because he shares my brother's nickname, for some reason, like, I know my English is bad, but it doesn't comprehend me. Did I say it was the Mets' fault that there are no other offers? I never said that. Now I don't know if there's a conversation going on because I got somebody helping me put up the comments. But like, no, it's not the Mets' fault. It's not that there's no other offers. Um, and I'm not sure again if there are any other offers. And then when people say, "Oh, he's willing to take a 3 year deal right now," why hasn't no other team? Are we gonna ignore the fact that they said Pete is willing to take? I mean, Pete gave the Mets the option of signing a 3 year deal. It wasn't for nobody else. That 3 year deal. So how do we know? Listen, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. We found out with Tanner Scott that he wanted to go to the Cubs. Right? The Dodgers had a long-standing offer. How long was that Dodgers offer to him? They said it was for like a month. The Dodgers made that offer. It was sitting on the table, but he was trying to get the deal that he wanted from the Cubs. When he finally realized that the Cubs weren't going to give him the deal, he went and took the deal from the Dodgers. So how do we know that Peter's not sitting on a deal from someone that he really doesn't want to go to? And he's just waiting on the Mets to get to that number. And say, oh, well, we would have found out. I understand it completely, Easy. I understand it completely. Why is it so hard for you to understand me, though? I said I understand he has no market. I'm saying if you really wanted him, that wouldn't matter. So the only players you're going to sign is if you get into a bidding war? No. You know what I'm saying? Everything doesn't have to be a bidding war. Thank you, Stan. Everything doesn't have to be a bidding war. You got an advantage. There's no bidding war. Not just go out there and just negotiate one-on-one. Like I said, one last chance. Pete, one last chance to make a deal. But it's obvious to me, and I don't know why people get upset when I say it, that David Stearns is not interested in that. He's only interested in Pete Alonso is as a stopgap placeholder type. That's what I read from the situation. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, and that's fine. I'm not sitting here saying you have to believe what I believe or think what I think. And I'm not saying that he's wrong for that. I'm not. Because I don't want to see, but for me, the money, like, it doesn't really matter much, honestly. But honestly, I don't want to give him $35 million for 5 years. That's stupid. But where I really want to hold the line is on years. I don't want a 39-year-old Pete. I don't want a 38-year-old Pete. But I don't think that Pete will not help me until he's 34 years old, 35 years old. How old is Pete? 30 right now, right?
Yeah.
You give him a 4 year deal, he's playing to what? 30, 31, 32, 33. You give him 5, he's playing to 34. I mean, I forget exactly when his birthday is. But you understand what I'm saying? So for me, it's more about the years.
So how many years do you want for him, Hector? You want 4? You're good at 4?
I would be good at 4. Because I'm
4.
looking at the window that I have with this team. I'm looking at the window that I have with this team. And yeah, and you want to tell me about maintaining flexibility. I still have young guys and Vientos and Alvarez. I got the Jet Williams and them coming up, hopefully. Acuna. That hopefully some of those guys graduated now along with Juan Soto. At that time, now we go find the other guys to bring in, the other big piece to bring in with these young guys. That who the hell knows who we're going to keep out of these young guys? Are we going to want to pay Mark Vientos when it comes time for him to get paid? Or is that going to be too rich? Guess we'll find out, right? It depends on how he does. He'll create his market.
Yeah, I think
for me, it would be 4 years.
I think it's a little bit of, like you said.
And I'm sorry, and ideally probably 3. I'll be honest. Ideally probably 3. That would probably be the best. But I just don't think Peters as done as people say that he is or act like he is. You know what I'm saying?
So you said 3 years, but you said you don't want to go to 30 a year, right? So that would be that 390 contract.
Yeah, I really don't care about the money. I give him 30, but I 35 is insane. Yeah. At any amount. Like, I do recognize that you don't want to like overpaying money either. I do
Yeah.
recognize that.
I think it's a little bit of what you said of kind of them keeping their options open, right? Like, yeah, Vlad is looming. I always hate waiting on, oh, this guy's going to be a free agent soon. Let's keep this. You never know, right? Like you never know that things may or may not work out. Basketball is the best comp for this, right? The whole wait for the Knicks to get LeBron James, right? Like they
Oh my
wanted
god.
LeBron James. They did everything they can. They stunk for years and they opened up every contract to try to get LeBron James to come over here. What happens? He doesn't come here after all of that, and they stink for another decade until they figured out a way to build the team that they have now. You don't want, you know, I think we are in a new era of Mets baseball that I think a lot of fans are going to have to come to terms with. And it's not the emotional attachment to these players because we saw Jake leave, right? I thought Jake was never leaving. I know there was all the rumblings of he didn't like being in New York and all that stuff, which maybe it ended up being true. I never thought that Steve, even with the injury stuff, I never thought he was leaving here. I thought that he was our version of what Doc was in the 80s, what Tom was back in the 60s, 70s. Once he left, I said, I don't think that they're going to hold on to, like, there's going to be no emotion. We are in the business Mets era with Steve Cohen and David Stearns. If they see fit that you are the right, person for this team, like they did with Lindor, he had no problem giving Lindor 12. He had no problem giving Francisco Lindor 12 years, over $300 million, and not seen him play in New York yet. Juan Soto, we got a little piece of in New York with the Yankees. But, as much as we both love Pete, I just don't think that they have that attachment to him, and they'll try to work out a deal. They'll still try, but there is no, oh, he could break the home run record, or, he could be an all-time Met. His number can be retired. I don't think they see that unless they feel like you're that elite talent. And I don't know if they see that in Pete because of the history of first baseman's contracts and the fact that he has been in decline over the last 2 years. I mean, how many times have you and I complained about Pete Alonso swinging at balls in the dugout? It never changed, right? And it's only gotten worse with him. Last year was awful. So I just think that we are in this new business Mets era where they don't have the emotional attachments like us fans do to these players. And I think that they're going to try to train, I guess, try to train us fans into getting into that kind of strategy and that kind of format. We'll see what happens, but I do think he returns. I don't know how ugly it's gonna get in negotiations with with him,
I mean,
but
how much ugly can it get?
I
I
mean,
think
this could drag. Scott Boras has dragged out
oh my gosh,
stuff
it's
into
just
the
so
season,
terrible.
like with Jordan
Yeah.
Montgomery, to the point where now he's not Jordan Montgomery's agent anymore. Kind of screwed Montgomery, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Pete doesn't want to drag this out as long as possible. It's like at some point as a player, don't you be like you said earlier, look, I don't want to leave New York. Figure it to stop working with everybody else. Get the best deal possible from the Mets and let's get this done already.
Yeah, and I thought Pete should have done that a long time ago. And maybe that Pete did do that, and that's when we heard about the Mets are willing. I mean, Pete Alonso and Scott Boras are willing to do the short term deal. Maybe that's when Pete took control. Oh man, I guess the way that Scott Boras played that did not work for them. But listen, like you said, hopefully he's able to return. I don't know what to think. I don't know what I feel about it anymore, whether it's gonna happen or not. I would like to see it happen. Um, I'm not gonna stop being a Met fan if it doesn't happen. Players come and go.
It's
I'm
about
still
this. This
Yeah, I'm
the
still here. It's about the front of the jersey. I
front
was
of the
gonna
jersey.
I was gonna
Oh
say the
wait.
front of the jersey, but I realized the front of the jersey for me right now has Pete Alonso because I've been wearing this shirt, guys. I do have more clothes, but I've been wearing this shirt because I'm gonna keep wearing it to rep Pete until he's officially gone, even if it pisses my guy Carlos off.
I mean, that's better than Evan Roberts painting his beard different colors to try to get Pete to sign a contract. I'd
Yeah,
rather wear
yeah,
the same
yeah,
shirt all the time.
yeah. Right, right, right. And it does get washed, although I've only been wearing it at home to do the show, so
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but we'll see how it plays out. Like we've said ad nauseum already. Um, Hopefully it's with us. We'll see how it happens. We would like to see him come back. I think most of us will. I think even the guys that are taking that hard stance wouldn't mind having Pete back as long as it's at the right price. Because at the end of the day, they can be the specter of getting Vlad Jr. We don't have Vlad Jr. I'm
I'm
not.
not even worried about him, to be
Yeah, I'm
honest.
not. I'm not willing to look past this season. I didn't want to look past last season. Um, but I sure as hell don't want to look past this season. And I think what I felt last season, we saw it. This team has enough to win. Although David Stearns might drive me crazy by the end of his tenure here as the president of baseball operations, hopefully it leads to a championship. I do agree with a lot of his philosophies when it comes to the long term deals, especially when it comes to pitching and all of that. I am not opposed to um, David Stearns. But what I said all the time, this is blunt thoughts. I guess I have to accept the fact that shout out to my guy Ty, seen up here as Jeff. Um, don't take that down. Let me see. Hold on. But ain't no recent takes on Stern spot on. Pathetic nerd who thinks he's so much smarter than everyone. He's a complete moron that has never played baseball and doesn't know the game. I love you, Ty. I love Joe. This is not fair. That is just not fair. That is just not fair. He's gonna drive us crazy. He's gonna frustrate us. But the guy knows what he's doing. I think he's shown what he's doing. Um, Listen, if we're gonna say he's never played baseball, then what the hell are we talking about?
How many executives have? Do we know?
Right. But
Like,
and then because I was just getting ready to say, I guess I gotta recognize myself as a content creator, and I'm not gonna be the type of content creator that's gonna look at things through Mets colored glasses and give you Mets biased takes. I am a fan. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an insider. I'm not gonna break news. I used to be good at math. I can't stand math. I hated it when I was good at it. I went to math competitions because they forced me to. I barely know what's 3 plus 3 now. I recognize the numbers, especially the new age stuff, whatever. I look at the game as a fan on a practical level, as a wannabe major leaguer, whatever the hell you want to call it. So I'm never going to say this guy never played. He can't do that job. Because if that's the case, I need to shut this down for life. And I can't do these videos anymore because I never played Major League Baseball. So what gives me the right to talk shit? But as a fan, I'm gonna come out here and tell you what the fans think, what I think as a fan, and a lot of times what a lot of fans think. Sometimes what a lot of fans don't think. Sometimes we'll be in line, sometimes we won't. That's how I do it. You can vibe with that. I appreciate you. I appreciate the 600 plus of you beautiful people up in here. Um, we've been all over the place. We've touched on most of everything that I want to touch on. We have neglected a couple of things that I want to touch on real quick before I let the responsible adult in this show, Anthony, go handle his business and go put little Subway to shade of bed. Um, so real quick, I wanted to do this first, but we got right into it. Congratulations. to Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia, Ichiro Suzuki on their Hall of Fame elections. Um, I think I saw that Carlos Beltran was able to get 70%,
Just missed. He'll be
just
there.
missed.
He'll get it next year.
I'll be honest. Listen, great honor for these guys. The Hall of Fame is still a great honor. As I've gotten older, I've stopped caring about certain things for different reasons. Recognize the Hall of Fame and everything, and still want to make it there one day. But I have stopped getting so involved into who gets voted in, who doesn't get voted in. The whole steroid thing. I don't even know how the hell I feel about the whole steroid thing. I hated the fact that people took steroids. You know what I'm saying? Again, as a wannabe ball player, that's something that I never thought about. Maybe I should have. I probably still would have never made it anyways. But you know what I'm saying? So I don't even know how I feel about it. But above all, just all the politics and all of the nonsense. Listen, you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not a Hall of Famer. What the hell can Carlos Beltran do from here till next year to make him a Hall of Famer that he hasn't already done? You know what I mean? Like that shit drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I
And the
don't
funny thing is,
understand.
the voters, the writers, have 10 votes to make.
Yes.
So the ones that leave off Beltran this year and then vote for him next year, like
Why?
what is the change? Because no one votes for 10. No one ever votes for 10 people.
Exactly.
They vote like maybe 2 or 3. And then you got a guy like Ichiro Suzuki, who probably should have went in unanimously, misses by 1 vote.
Right, just like Jeter. It doesn't make sense. You have guys. Well, I'm not voting for a guy his first year on the ballot. Why? Is he a Hall of Famer or is he not a Hall of Famer? The Dodgers have made a contract offer to Ichiro. It wouldn't surprise me. Why? Yeah. I don't want to get into whether Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer, borderline Hall of Famer, not a borderline Hall of Famer. I know that's a conversation, an argument that's been had for a while. Listen, Billy Wagner gave me a lot of agita. Billy Wagner gave us a lot of good times. Only scumbags from New York were the ones that left Wagner off. Sorry, Mets fans, but OMG Heyman, etc. Did he really? Are you serious?
I wouldn't doubt that one bit. I mean,
That's funny.
I have a feeling that some of the writers do this, just to get notoriety, that they did not vote for a specific player or whatever. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever. And it's crazy to think. I am happy, although that David Wright has still kept himself on the ballot. He actually got a few more votes. So
did he really? Yeah, I didn't see that. So
keep him on the ballot as much as possible. I know that he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but right. I just think at the very least, for all that he's went through, just keep him on the ballot for a little bit longer.
How many writers vote? Jules is well versed on this. So there's 13 writers from
New York City and Boston.
From New York City and Boston, and you blocked Heyman last year. How many? I wonder how many writers vote. I know I've heard the number before. But that's interesting that most of the New York guys didn't vote for Billy Wagner, and yet he got in anyways. But and that's exactly what I mean, though. It's just like the whole politics behind it. Whether the guy was popular with the media, wasn't popular with the media. Did he grant interviews or did he not grant interviews? Like, listen, to me, it should be about what you did on the field. Unless you're a criminal off the field, I don't give a damn what the hell you did off the field. You understand, for the most part, when it comes to the Hall of Fame. But then when you think about it, right, it is the Hall of Fame. So is it based on merit or is it based on fame? I don't know.
There's 394 ballots that were submitted.
394 ballots. I wonder how many fools don't even submit a ballot either. As MEC says, that Billy Wagner failed us in the playoffs and he's a hard grader for the Hall of Fame. I agree with that. I agree with that. So there's that. Just wanted to congratulate those guys on their elections to the Hall of Fame. Good job for them. I want to spend too much time on that. I want to get Anthony out of here, but I didn't want to, because I mentioned it before as we got in. You did have Joe DeMayo on Sunday on your show. Yep. You guys got into the minors, the international free agency. We know we missed that on Sasaki, but we got the guy that, was rumored that the Mets, pretty much had locked up, and Ilian Pena. I know you guys spoke about him. Is there anything about Ilian Pena that stood out to you in that conversation, or just in the minors in general that you may want to share with us, if you may?
Well, Joe's always great when it comes to talking about the prospects, and this has been in the works for years to get Elliot, and he's only 17 now, but this has been in the works for years to get, like, they've been scouting him for a while now to get him to come over here. And if it's not for Roki Sasaki, and I don't know why I don't know why the guys that come over from the MPB, why they are included in these international amateur signings, because they've really kind of played, professional baseball out in Japan already. So it's a little bit weird to me. And he's 25 years old. If it's not for Sasaki, then Elian Pena would probably be the consensus number one. He was in Baseball America. He was number 2, which would make him number 1 if Sasaki's not there. And for MLB Pipeline, I think he was number 3. So, this is a good signing for the Mets. They really have a lot of, and let's take prospects for what they are, right? I mean, you and me know that they're a dime a dozen. So, but considering, the prospect pool that they got to delve into, and the fact that they gave him $5 million, which is most of their international pool money, considering as well that he's the highest paid in the franchise's history when it comes to that as well. They really must see something in him, whether it's power wise. He's a shortstop right now, and I know people don't like the Mets signing all these shortstop prospects, but they say he's going to be probably a third baseman at some point in his career. Okay. So that's pretty much it. There's still a lot to go. They signed a whole lot of other prospects that we'll have to do into, but Joe did say this, that he will crack the top 10 of his updated list when it comes out this year.
Yes.
And I didn't ask him, to give me where he's going to put him, because there's still a lot of research in that. I'm pretty sure he wants to get that out on his article first. But I asked him, okay, is he, top 5? Is he, lower 5, or, that lower 10 area? And he said he'll be in that 6 to 10 range. So a lot of work to be done, but we'll see. He's only 17 years old. So
right. That Jules, they're not concepts, they're suspects. No, listen, man.
It's true.
How can you not be excited about a guy like that? And I don't know, did he give you like a timetable? I mean, what he thinks he can make it to the majors? Is this someone that we can expect to be one of these phenoms that can maybe make it at 19? Who the hell knows? Did Joe get into any of that with you? Or I mean, I know that's too soon.
Honestly, I don't know if I asked him or if I just read it in the chats that the thought was 20 years old is a possibility.
Okay.
So you're looking at 3 years from now, but look, you've talked about all the prospects, right? I mean, you mentioned all the names of the kids coming up. How many of those guys are actually going to be on this roster? Let's be honest, right? Like not too many. I mean, no one ever thought Vientos was going to be on this roster, and he's probably the best so far, and that's including better than what we've seen from Francisco Alvarez.
Yeah,
he has been the best and most productive of all the prospects that the Mets have had of that group. So you just don't know. Like you said, they're suspects until they're, they come to the major leagues and they prove it.
Absolutely. We'll be rooting for the guy. And, for me, I talked about it on my last show, Sasaki, you look at it and it's like, man, that's somebody that could have helped us probably right now. Yeah. And we don't know when this kid could come up. Is he, like I said, could he be one of those phenoms, 19, 20 years old, comes up and helps us out?
Which is why I said it's weird that Sasaki is put into the same pool as these young kids.
Yeah, that's something that should be looked at, because that doesn't make much sense to me. That shouldn't be like that. But again, I don't want to take up much more of Anthony's time. This has been great. Thank you so much, Ant. I don't
anytime, man.
I apologize. Like I don't know. For me, I always think you say on your show that it's easier for you to look at the comments when you're
it's hard. It's hard when I'm alone.
Yeah, that's harder when you're alone. It's easier for you. For me, I find it the other way around. Like if I start looking at the comments, I start like not tuning you out, but maybe losing you a little bit. It's like
Yeah,
Not
it
to hell with
happens.
the comments because I'm having a conversation with this guy. How am I going to respond? So I get away from the comments. So I apologize
Oh,
to
good.
everyone that we didn't get to all of the comments. I just seen this from Carlos, and if you're gonna give my guy Manny props, I'm always gonna put it up. I don't even know what the conversation was.
Manny
But
being Manny.
right, but again, thank you so much. I don't know if I could have done the show tonight by myself because how much can I talk about Peter Alonso and go back and forth with guys? These guys would have been chewing me up, telling me I just don't understand and that I hate David Stearns and all of this stuff, and I would have been getting wired up for no reason. Um, I wish the situation would have gone different, as I've said over and over. We'll see how it plays out. Um, it's always let's go Mets. We're getting close,
Hmm.
as Anthony said, but there's still a little bit of time to make moves. We'll see what those moves are. There's still quite a few players. I did want to ask you this, though, Ant. I did want to ask you this because I also sometimes I like to have fun, right? Sometimes I like to have fun, and I know what's coming, but I do it anyways. So when we sign AJ Minter, I put out a post that says, "Of course, we went for the least expensive and less commitment in years.
I'm
Of
sure the
course,
comments were great under that post.
phenomenal, so much love. Told me how smart I am and insightful and all that good stuff. But it's like, am I lying?
Yeah, they weren't going to give Tanner Scott 4 years.
You know what I'm saying?
At 20 mil a year, they weren't going to give him that, and in return, they got AJ Minter with. If you do look at the stats, AJ Minter has been a more consistent pitcher throughout his entire career in Atlanta. Right? Tanner Scott has only just become what he has in the last 2 years, and even still, he struggles. We want guys in the bullpen, right? Like this year, we struggled with walks. Minter has a better K to walk ratio, whereas Tanner Scott walks a lot of batters. And I'm pretty sure Tanner Scott also wanted opportunities to close. He's probably going to be the Dodgers closer, whereas he's not getting that. He'll get some opportunities when Diaz needs a rest, but Diaz is the closer. So at least you have a good setup, man. I like the deal, honestly,
Yeah.
but I get it, right? I get it. Tanner Scott was the guy, the best lefty out there. I wanted I was championing for Tanner Scott all
You know
off
when I knew we weren't getting Tanner Scott? When they said the Mets have spoken to Tanner Scott.
probably that did it in. Yeah, because we
Like,
don't.
we talk
No,
about how this front office is worked in secrecy. We don't really hear much.
yeah,
Now when they say the Mets spoke to, the Mets are connected to, done.
and then we didn't find
That's
out
not
about AJ Minter probably until the night before or the morning after, like the morning when they signed him. Right? It's like, oh, they're probably talking to AJ Minter, and then 3 minutes later he signed.
yeah. Well, see, I missed that they talking to AJ Minch. I just found out they signed them. So I
It
even
was a
missed.
quick tweet in the morning from one
Right
of
there,
the
you go.
writers.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
But no, man. Listen, I'm not. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. It's one thing I can never say goodbye. It's or even end the show properly. It's one thing like last season, David Stearns kept telling us during the off season. I don't need to go for JD Martinez. I'm not going to pay for JD Martinez when I can get the same value from a Mark Vientos at a quarter of the cost, or whatever the hell it comes out to. And I was fully in line with that. And because I believed in Mark Vientos. I had seen Mark Vientos. So just to finish off, I didn't mind that signing. I could understand the why am I gonna commit all these years and money to a Tanner Scott, who still we don't know when I can get the same amount of production. I don't have to make the same amount of commitment from an AJ Minter. I get it. I do. I don't think that should always be the case. I think sometimes you need to say, you know what? Yeah, but I'll take Tanner Scott. You know, and it also makes me is with the whole Pete Alonso thing too. I don't see that with Pete Alonso right now. So why am I going to give Pete Alonso this when I can get that production from here? Where is it? And don't talk to me about Jesse Winker and none of that nonsense because I
I
don't
don't
want
think
to hear
that's related.
it.
I
You know
do
what I
you
mean?
honestly do you honestly think that that's like, oh, we are replacing, we're
Well,
okay with
it's
this.
not
I just don't
replacing.
believe that.
It's not replacing. I've been fair the whole time. I've never said that they said they want to replace him, right?
Yeah.
I'm not done to you because I've said it even through all these days. What they said was to offset some of that power. What I don't understand also is, well, Mark Vientos can replace Peter Alonso's production. To how?
We
Mark
don't know that.
Vientos, but he was already on the team with Peter Alonso. How's he replacing when he was already here?
The only
So
person that's replacing Alonso's power is Juan Soto because he's fresh and new
yeah,
to the team. That's the only
that's the only addition,
replacement.
and I would have wanted that to be an add-on to what we had, not a
Yeah.
replacement
Yeah.
of Pete. But if we're gonna talk about a replacement, shit, ain't no better replacement than that. So you can't really get mad at that.
Yeah. You said that Stern said he didn't want JD Martinez, he didn't want JD Martinez at 2 years, 50 mil.
Right. At,
But
at that price.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't finish the
he'll
thought.
take that 1 year deal that he got JD
Eventually,
Martinez for.
JD fell in his lap. You know what I'm saying? And you took him, and we can debate whether he served the purpose or not. I mean, he definitely served the purpose
Yeah, for the first half of the season.
and the leadership and all of that. But as far as on the field, yeah, made me sick. I love the walk off though. That was my debut watch along, and there was a great watch along debut.
Against Miami, right?
Yeah, against Miami. That was
Off
the
of,
first time I was live during the game doing a watch along.
you know who that was off of?
Yeah, Tanner Scott. I was
Full circle.
reminded somebody posted that. Yeah, and I was like, oh, there we go. But nah, man. And again, thank you so much. Appreciate you. We'll do this again
Absolutely.
sometime. Um, but
Hey,
thank you, man.
if there is nothing, if we go through this week and it's still there's like Mets make no signings. I may not even have a show Sunday. I may take the day off
Yo,
because like there's really nothing to talk about right now. And once the season gets going, I might have to move the show to nights because there's going to be games going on, like series are going to be
right.
wrapping up, so I might have to switch. But the off season has worked perfectly for
Yeah,
morning
I
shows.
think during the season, Sunday nights are great. I did a lot of, I did a couple of my shows Sunday nights, and that's what I wanted to do. If I would have been consistent during the season, but I wasn't able to because I'm all over the place during the season.
You're at the games, man. You're at most
Yeah,
of the games during the
yeah,
season.
I'm at the games a lot. Damn, I was gonna say something and I forgot. But no, man. Yeah, oh, that's what I was gonna say. I too may take next week off if nothing happens, and I have a built-in excuse because I will be a year younger next Tuesday. I don't get older; I get younger.
Well, happy
You got,
birthday if I
you
don't
got,
talk to you then.
yeah. Thank you. You guys get older; I get younger, baby. So we'll be a year younger next Tuesday. So we may take the day off just for that.
You should enjoy it.
Yeah,
Gotta be talking about the Mets.
we may not even be in town, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, are you going this Saturday? Amazing
Amazing
day.
day? No,
Oh,
not with little Subway to Shea out right now. And the tickets are like the regular ticket. I think was like $40, and then it went
$40.
to like 950 for
Yeah,
VIP. Like that's wild.
VIP,
That's
insane,
wild to me.
insane. And I haven't seen any in the secondary market or anything either.
No.
I also wasn't gonna go because I missed out when they put out the tickets, but I got lucky. A buddy had a couple of extras.
But
Um,
shout out to Keith Blacknick who puts together the QBC. I think that's a great, nice,
yes,
kind of intimate setting, and you get to meet a couple of Mets legends. That's always a great thing to go to. I think every single year, but hopefully maybe next year if they do the Amazing Day, because I think it was in 2019 that they did it before the
yes, that
pandemic.
was. Did you go to that one?
I didn't get to go to that one, but
That was
I did.
awesome, bro.
Okay,
I
I
had a
hear
great
some
time.
differing views on the situation, but I guess
I thought it was good for me. Like I thought it
yeah,
was good.
I'll
And I
have to
got
do it
there
next year
pretty
then.
late
That's for
too.
sure.
But we'll see how it happens. I just wonder how many players we're gonna see as regulars. And listen, I don't know. Looking at the list of everything that you're entitled to as just a regular ticket holder, it's freaking awesome. But I wonder how much. And then if excuse me, jeez, if Juan Soto's there as he should be, Is he part of just VIP package? Like, give me a damn break.
All I'll say is this: if David Stearns has a panel, I hope you guys are all at it, and that you give the questions that you want to get out there, especially if no one signs in the next 5-6 days.
Right. Is there, I see that Keith keeps posting, go over here and voice your opinions. Is that what's gonna happen? Is it gonna be like a panel or something? Is that what it is?
The last time I remember them having panels with
Yes, they did.
players, and I think they did executives. So maybe Cohen will do one as well. So that'd be fun.
Oh boy, let's see if I can get a question in there. That should be phenomenal. Get my ass kicked out. All right, guys. Good night, everybody. Thanks once again, and Blunt Thoughts. It's done, baby. We'll see. We'll be back next week. I'll let you guys know. But for now, good night, everybody. Peace.